Hello, welcome to Lockdown Money Live from UK Money Bloggers. I'm Andy Webb from Be Clever With Your Cash.
And hello, I'm Naomi Willis. I'm from Skint Dad.
So we're your hosts for these 4 sessions this evening. The whole idea, as the money suggests, is we are going to be talking about some of the really important things you should be thinking about right now with your money while we're in lockdown. Obviously, the Prime Minister just an hour ago now has said it is going to be easy. We're moving from stage 4 into stage 3. We're going to have a bit more freedom. We're going to be doing a little bit more. Back to work, maybe back to school, perhaps, seeing friends, shops opening. But lockdown still exists. We are still going to be under lockdown. And the things we're going to talk about today, they're still going to be relevant because our finances are still going to be impacted by this. So we've got, 4 sessions. Naomi, do you want to take us through what those ones are?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Right, first session, we've got Eileen with us from Your Money Sorted, and we're going to kick off and look at what happens if you're struggling financially. Maybe you've got furlough and you've got a reduction in money. Perhaps you've slipped through the net and you've got no support at all from the government, or maybe unfortunately you've lost your job at the moment, or you're still job hunting. So if you're in one of those positions, you're finding yourself struggling quite a bit, we've got lots of tips, lots of ideas and support to come your way.
So that's the first one. Then after that, we've got a session about your job and your pay, where I'll be talking to Faith Archer from Much More With Less, basically furlough schemes, self-employment schemes, redundancy, sadly. That will be coming from 7 o'clock. The session at 8 o'clock is actually 8:05 because of the final clap for the NHS, clap for carers. What are you going to be talking about there, Naomi?
I have got with me Fran from the Money Fox, and we're going to be going a bit frugal, and we're going to be talking about ways that the money you've got, how you can make it stretch the furthest through the month and hopefully beyond a little bit, so you can make some savings too. So just kind of going back to basics of things you probably know, some stuff that you might have just stopped doing because you've fallen out of the habit, and hopefully give you some tips as well to make sure that you can.
Oh, Naomi's frozen there briefly. Hopefully we'll be able to get her back. Oh, you're back. You're back. You froze
I'm
briefly.
back.
That's going to be really great. I think it's about getting your money from payday to payday when we're getting less income, aren't we? It should be really useful. And then the last session is a bit different to the others at 9 p.m. because although lots of people have been affected and have less income, some people are still working. They're still getting their full salary, but they're spending a lot less. They're not commuting. They're not going out. So they've actually got a bit of spare cash. So I want to end today on what you do with that money. And I'm joined by Sarah Williams from Debt Camel and Damien Fay from Money to the Masses to talk about some of your options to make sure it's not just languishing there in your account, it's actually going to some use. Now, you might be watching this on the Skint Dad page. You might be watching this on the UK Money Bloggers page. You might be watching it somewhere else. But if you want to ask us a question, the 2 places where we are going to be properly monitoring those questions are those, as I said, the UK Money Bloggers page and the Skint Dad page. So head over to those 2 if you want to ask us a question, and I will pop back in about 25, 30 minutes, if we've got any, just to put them to Naomi and our first guest. So I'll hand over to you, Naomi, to get things going.
Thank you very much. And hello to everybody if you are just joining in now. And we've got Eileen. Do you want to just give yourself a little bit of a plug of what you're here for and what you do?
Okay, so I'm Eileen Adamson and I run Your Money Sorted, which is I mainly work with teachers, actually helping teachers to be happier, healthier and wealthier. And I also blog lots about money and a bit about well-being as well. So that's
Fantastic.
what I do.
So you are perfectly in a really good place to be able to help me and give some tips to if people are struggling right now with what they can do.
Absolutely, yes. I've actually been on Radio Scotland a wee bit, helping out there with money. So I've been doing a bit of stuff about COVID-19 and coronavirus. So I'm looking forward to chatting to you tonight, Naomi, and hopefully helping the listeners out.
Good. Okay. So I think we were chatting kind of this morning a little bit, or this afternoon, time flies, kind of talking about budgeting. And I think your suggestion of a money makeover is a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the very first place to start just now is to look at your outgoings over the last couple of months and to do a money makeover. So simply grab a hold of your bank statements, and what I would do is the easiest way I think of doing it is making a really neat column. So something that I need, something that I really want, and then things that I can do without, and be really, really harsh on yourself and get it down to, do I really need to have that? That then gives you your basic outgoings that you absolutely need to spend each month. There's then things that you might want and you might really want. So can I afford to keep those in, or can I not afford to keep those in? And then you get down to the column where we really can afford to compromise. And that column's going to be the first to go. And then your really wants, obviously, you can have a bit of come and go there depending on your income. But that's the first thing I would do for everybody. It doesn't matter what your income is. It's a really good process to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a good way to be able to, if you split it like you're saying, you can really start to see if you're just paying for things for the sake of it, or if you actually really need that stuff to be able to survive.
Absolutely. We're all guilty of the money comes out our account and it just keeps coming out our account, and we don't always stop to think, am I getting good value for that, firstly? And do I actually want to be paying that? One of the kind of common ones just now is the TV. Do we really need to be paying Sky and Netflix and Now TV, whatever? Or can we really cut that down? We've only ever had Kunseltelly, as my dad used to call it, which is just the free TV. And that's all we've ever had. And that works really, really well for us. And I'm very happy with that.
I suppose at the moment, with more people being at home, their entertainment could be the TV. So actually keeping Netflix might be one of those real essentials. I've got to keep spending that money on that one. So I suppose it's a balance of what people need in their lives, isn't it? But I suppose once you've gone through kind of all your bank statements and your bills and you work things out, if you can't cut back on anything else and you've still got all these bills, but you don't have enough money coming in, I mean, hopefully that's just going to be a temporary thing while potentially people are furloughed. So the money should go back up. What have you got kind of a suggestion on what people can do in a temporary fix?
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of help come out for people, and it's brilliant that Andy is going to be talking later on about the job retention scheme and all these things, because these things are brilliant that they've been giving people support. But the fact that people are 20% down, most people who've been furloughed, the fact that there are people who are not getting any support. So we need to have things in place to help people. A lot of lenders have been helping people. So the kind of big one, the big payment for most people is a mortgage. And they have offered mortgage holidays, which has just recently been extended from 3 months. They're now offering mortgage holidays for up to 6 months. You've got until the 31st of October to apply for that. Couple of things to consider. If you're thinking of it, have a look and see what different terms your mortgage lender is offering you, because they do slightly vary. Some lenders are offering you the opportunity to extend the term of your mortgage, which means your mortgage is going to be maybe 6 months longer. Other idea is that you could increase your mortgage, so you would just pay slightly more each month once you do start paying again. Or there's another option where you can get a short-term repayment, so you borrow and then you pay it back maybe over the following 6 months. Now, for some people that might work, but for other people that's going to put an extra huge added strain if you're having to pay your original mortgage payments plus the missed payments. Yeah. So it's about getting to know the different options and choosing the one that's going to work for you, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's quite useful that that's been extended. Unfortunately, as Andy's going to mention again, as you're saying about potential redundancies that are going to come through, we obviously don't know what's going to happen. But things are strained financially for lots of businesses. So that mortgage holiday being there for a bit of a longer term might help in the event that there are redundancies coming as well. Are there, with things like loans and car finance, there's pauses on those as well, aren't there? Or you can ask for a holiday on those things too.
Yes, so car finance. Sorry, Naomi, you're kind of breaking up a wee bit, so I didn't mean to interrupt you there. So yes, car finance as well. You can ask for a payment holiday in car finance. you've only got until the 27th of July at the present minute to apply for that, and it's a 3-month payment holiday. There's also on loans, credit cards as well. They are offering payment holidays on that, 3-month payment holiday. For those, you've only got until the 9th of July to apply. So make sure if you need these, then that you get these applications in. So applying is normally a case of checking the lender's website is the best way, because the phone lines are so busy. Check the website and see if you can access the information on there. That's the simplest way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the one thing that's really worth kind of thinking about is it's going to add interest. It's going to end up costing you more money over a longer period. So if you can afford to pay it, it's probably worth continuing to pay it. But it's kind of one of those things that we can't kind of help it, I don't think, can we, at the moment, if you do have a less income. But that kind of leads into, if you do have less income, you can try and boost it up again with benefits that are out there, such as universal credit. So if you have less money at the moment, if you're furloughed, or you're finding yourself unemployed, or you're on a low income, you could be eligible to claim universal credit. It's very different for lots of different people. There's kind of standard allowances that you can claim on that, but it can go up, and you can get kind of extra depending if you're a carer, or if you have disabilities or children. And it can also go down depending on your income and the savings you're on. So it's definitely worth looking into. Again, you can call up and apply over the phone, but it's busy. So if you just go to gov.uk and then you can apply there. Or you could go to Entitled To, and that's a website. It's a really useful benefits calculator to be able to see everything that you're entitled to. On top of that, you could, if you're struggling with council tax, speak to your local authority to see if they are able to lower your council tax repayments. I know a few people in our community have mentioned that they've actually had theirs cut down at 0, so they're not paying anything at the moment, and they're not going to have to pay it back. So they didn't know, they only found out because they've asked. So if you are struggling, just ask. It's so many people are in this boat. It's all different shapes and sizes, and the storm's different, but it's worth going through. With universal credit as well, I think it's worth saying that depending on kind of the levels you get, you may also be entitled to free school meals. If you are, then speak to your school and you can start getting the vouchers for the free school meals too, which might help some families out. But there are all sorts of benefits available out there. Just see what you can get, because it really can help boost your income if you can get that. Have you got any other ideas for boosting, and Eileen?
No, I mean, absolutely make the most of the benefits that are out there. And as you say, that's the first place to turn to. The other thing that you could possibly do is get a tax rebate. There's certain things that you can get tax rebates for. So if you have to wear a uniform to work, or if you have to pay professional subscriptions, or if you have to purchase tools or clothing that are for, if you have to not purchase, sorry, you're not allowed to claim for purchasing. You are allowed to claim for replacing tools or clothing, and you are allowed to claim for cleaning of clothing, specialist clothing. So uniforms and subscriptions and those other tools and clothing. It's simply a case of going on the government website, gov.uk, and checking to see if you would be eligible for a tax rebate. There's a form online, you fill in the form, and you may or may not be eligible for a tax rebate, but it's certainly worth a try.
Absolutely, and I think with that, that will really benefit a lot of potentially key workers who wear uniform as part of their job, and they can just use it to claim back. If you're wearing a uniform and you're washing it yourself, it's money sitting on the table for them, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And I know that for teachers who I deal with, the average tax refund is around £250. So we're not talking time money here,
no,
because you can claim back. You can claim back 4 years So if you've never claimed before, then you can claim back for 4 tax years, and then they adjust your tax code moving forward so that you then get that benefit each year. So it's not to be sniffed at. It's definitely something that's worthwhile doing, and it's a very easy process online. The one thing I would say is, if you Google tax rebate, uniform, whatever, there are lots and lots of companies out there who charge you for this process, and it is not a process that people need to be paying for, because it's very, very simple to do yourself, and basically you don't want to be losing 20-25% of the money to a company who do pretty much the same as you could do. So do it yourself. That would be my advice.
Yeah, that's a great tip, actually. It's you may think you save time by paying somebody else to do it, but it doesn't take much time at all. So very good tip. For people who are struggling a bit more, if they've got debts that they're starting to be able to struggle to pay, and they might have been managing before all this took place, or they might have just been teetering on the edge of struggling with debts. Have you got any suggestions for those people?
Seek help. If you were struggling beforehand, then absolutely seek help now. Please, please don't bury your head in the sand. Don't let it go on. It's really important that you do take advice. Again, watch out for people who are wanting to charge you for that advice, because there are loads of free places to find advice. And StepChance is absolutely amazing. They have got an online tool called the Debt Remedy tool, and it's simply a case of going to the StepChance website, punching in some details, and they will give you really good quality information about what you can do about your debt. And again, you need to let them know where you are, because the debt situation in Scotland is different to down south. But StepChance allows for all of that. So that's one good place to start. Another good place is National Debtline. They are absolutely superb as well. And Citizens Advice. So it's Citizens Advice, and then Scotland is Citizens Advice Scotland. So I would encourage you to be brave enough to seek help and actually get some help to manage your debt, because it's not going to go away without some help, and there is free help available.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with everything you're saying. I mean, I personally was in huge amounts of debt a few years ago, really, really unmanageable. And we buried our heads and thought it'll go away on its own. We'll sort it, it'll fix it. And it doesn't. And it just actually gets worse, and it gets passed to debt collection agencies who add more money on top of it. And it gets to a point where you can't come back from it until you have to just reach out and ask for help. And these people are amazing, and they don't judge you at all. And it's such a weight lifted just starting to have that conversation with them. It's worth it. If anybody just tonight just goes and contacts one of them to just start that process, tomorrow you'll feel so different.
That's right. Yeah, it just takes the weight off the mind. Another place that I find really, really good, and Sarah's actually going to be on later with Andy, is Debt Camel. And Sarah Williams is absolutely amazing. She is a debt advisor with the Citizens Advice, but she has got a website that the help and the information that is on that website is absolutely superb. So if you're just not ready to take that next step and contact one of the debt companies, have a look on Sarah's website. And I think some of the stories that you see on there will help to make you believe that you can do something about it, and you can help yourself out of this situation. Yeah,
absolutely. If you kind of have been hit and you've got less money, or you're suffering with an illness at the moment, is there any kind of financial places? Is there anything you can do to kind of get a bit of money at the moment?
Yes, so third sector is absolutely amazing, and there's been a whole lot of money pumped into the third sector from the government to help people in this situation. So I think it was 300 million in England, and I can't remember how much in Scotland as well, but there's money being pumped in via third sector organisations. So one of the best places to start looking for these grants which are good because grants don't need to be paid back. So it's not a loan, it's money that is given to you because you're in a dire situation and you need money to help you out. So these grants, the best place to find them is going to Turn to Us, which is turn and then the number 2, us, and they have got a brilliant search facility. So you can search in there now, you can search in for your local area, you can search in for the job that you might do, and they've got grants for lots and lots of different things. Even sometimes you might even find grants based on name, based on age of your children, etc. So use as many different, I can't even think of the word just now, use as many different things, we'll go with, as you can, and search to see if there are any grants that would help you out. Okay?
Yeah, perfect. Okay. For if someone's then really struggling financially and they've tried all the options already, but there's nothing left at all, and they need to eat, have you got any ideas for those type of people?
Yeah, again, local authority, contact your local authority. A lot of local authorities have been doing really good work with, first of all, with school meals, actually physically packaging up school meals and physically taking school meals out to children, which was excellent. A lot of them have now adopted a voucher scheme. So if you are eligible for school meals, now you might think that you're not, but your circumstances have changed, so you might now be. So make sure that you check and see if you are eligible. And if you are, a lot of authorities are now giving out vouchers for that. Some authorities are still giving out meals, but either way, if you're entitled, then please take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And another place, the Trussell Trust food banks, they have got over 1,200 food banks. Now, sadly, they are saying that food bank use has increased 73% in the last 5 years, which is massive. But in the first 2 weeks of the pandemic, the use increased by 81% in comparison to last year. So it's just enormous. And the need is there. But the Trussell Trust are doing a wonderful job, as are other food banks. But the Trussell Trust, I think it's the easiest one because they have got a search facility on their website that allows you to type in and it will show you where your nearest food bank is. Now, with food banks, you've got to be referred to the food bank by a local agency. If you're not sure which local agencies would refer you, then simply get in touch with the food bank and ask them to see if which agencies. Sorry.
No, sorry, carry on.
It's quite difficult when there's that wee lag, isn't it? The only other thing I was going to say was, if you are in the position that you've got a wee bit extra just now and you're doing okay, then maybe think about going on the Trussell Trust website, and they have got a list of things that your local food bank would be really, really grateful for. So you can actually check and see what your local food bank needs. And if you've got a wee bit extra just now, then that might be a wonderful way of helping some other people by donating to the food bank. But if you need the food bank and you need fed and your children need fed, then please don't ever hesitate to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in kind of couple of months ago, I think what would normally happen is you would get that referral and then you would go in person to the food bank and go and kind of pick a package and then take that away with you. Obviously, that's difficult now for people because of isolating. Even if they're changing some of the rules, I don't see how that's going to change. And if you have to actually self-isolate because you're not feeling very well, you're not going to go anywhere. So if you get that referral, what's I think normally happening now is that you get given a code. When you call the food bank, you can give them that code and they'll verify you are who you say you are, and they can then pick some food for you and they'll deliver it to you. So it's a kind of a good way if you're really, really struggling and you can't get hold of any kind of money from any of the things we've suggested, then please don't sit there and not have any food. Try that and try and get yourself fed. Definitely.
Absolutely, no, good advice, Naomi.
Yeah. So there's lots of things really to do. It's potentially there's always going to be those kind of things that some people aren't going to get help even with the suggestions that we've made, which just is kind of horrible, to be fair. But I hope some of those things would do. Have you got any other kind of ideas or suggestions?
I think I'm out of ideas and suggestions now. Yeah. Oh, have we got some questions, Andy?
Hello, guys. Thank you for that. It was fantastic. So, yeah, I've got a few more questions from people, which we can touch on some of the things you've spoken about and some of the things that maybe sort of we haven't touched on. Yeah. Payment holidays. We mentioned there, particularly in terms of mortgages in particular. There are things that are valuable to us. How do you make sure that we do this? It doesn't affect our credit rating if you take these payment holidays. What are the things we need to make sure happen so it doesn't give us a hit? Who wants that?
I don't know, Andy. I don't know the answer to that question.
My understanding, sorry, there's a bit of a lag, I don't know if anybody else can hear me, is that it should not affect your credit rating, and that it's not going to appear on your credit file if you've had to take a payment holiday for your mortgage. However, with open banking, which is this thing where all banks and financial institutions are able to share information from what you allow to be shared, it could be picked up and seen through that, which may then have a negative impact. But we don't know what that's going to look like yet or how that is. So it's just something to be aware of. So if you're struggling financially and you can't pay it, then that is a route you're going to need to take. But potentially if you are doing better financially and you're just taking it because you think it might help out, it's something you probably want to not do, because it might impact your trying to get further credit in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that with the mortgage holiday and any other payment holiday, you also want to make sure that it is agreed with whoever that supplier is. Obviously, if you just stop paying, then you're going to default on your payment. That will hit your credit rating. But yeah, it's interesting. That was an investigation from Money Saving Expert from last week. They found out about that open banking loophole that potentially some lenders, particularly mortgage lenders, might use. So it might not happen, might not affect you, but it's worth bearing that in mind. As Naomi, as you say there, only take that mortgage holiday if you absolutely do need to do it. Sticking with housing, what happens if you're renting? What can you do then?
Yeah, so I would say the first thing to do is speak to your landlord and ask, is there any chance that I can get a payment holiday? Some landlords will be able to get payment holidays on their mortgage and then may allow you to then have a payment holiday on your rent. Some may not, which is going to lead you to be in difficulty if you've got difficulty paying your rent. The only thing that has been put in place is that in England, Wales, Northern Ireland, you cannot be evicted within 12 weeks. So the landlord has got to give you 12 weeks notice. In Scotland, they've gone a wee bit further than that and said that your landlord has got to give you 6 months notice. So at least you can't be evicted. But yeah, it's a really tricky situation if your landlord is not going to give you a payment holiday.
Yeah, just interesting. Oh, sorry, go on.
Again, I would then come back and look to, are you claiming any benefits at the moment? Is that going to be able to help increase your income for while you have less money? That's an option you can go and check.
Yeah, absolutely, because the housing benefit isn't just for people who are unemployed. It can potentially be for anyone, can't it? So it's worth, as you say, going to Entitled To and turn to us just to have a look, because you might be surprised some of the things that come up. And just interestingly, actually, we've had Nicola Barlow is watching, and she was just responding to what we were saying there, that she's currently on a payment holiday and she was told it will affect her credit rating. So that's interesting. That shouldn't be the case, Nicola. So I would definitely sort of just double check what's going on there. It's well worth, if we're talking about credit reports anyway, you can check all of your credit reports and the scores that come with them for free. For me, the picks are ClearScore checks your Equifax score, Money Saving Experts Credit Club checks your Experian score, and Credit Karma checks your TransUnion score. They're the 3 scores. It's worth just checking all of those anyway, but now is a particularly good time to be doing that and make sure nothing hasn't fallen through, because I have actually heard about some banks have done things slightly wrong and maybe they have appeared as defaults rather than payment holidays. So if you've agreed anything, that is well worth checking it.
But if they're appearing as defaults, don't worry that it's going to be there forever. If they've done it wrong, if you go to them and ask them to update it, they can do that, and they can get that changed and put back to what it's meant to be.
Great.
And
really
it's a government promise, isn't it, Andy? It was a government promise that it won't affect your credit rating. So no bank should be saying that it is something that's going to affect your credit rating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's some of the things are working sort of slightly different in how long you've got. So in mortgages, we know it could be 6 months, some things 3 months, slightly different again with payday loans and other kind of forms of finance. But absolutely, you shouldn't be impacted by that longer term. And the last question, I think actually is quite interesting in terms of what's happening right now in terms of social distance restrictions lifting slightly. Obviously, we're saying you can meet in gardens now in parties of 6. You can probably have a barbecue, but you still can't go into someone's home. And when we talk about maybe sort of looking at your bills, doing that audit, switching suppliers, I think some people are worried about switching because of that idea that someone's going to come round to the house. But actually, that shouldn't be a fear at all, should it?
No, nobody needs to come in your house. Switching energy suppliers is one of the easiest things you could probably do to save money. Put the kettle on, make yourself a cup of tea, and in less than 10 minutes, you can switch your energy provider and then be able to drink your tea at a decent temperature. You just grab your last bill, look what your energy usage is, put your postcode in. The only thing that changes is the bill that comes through with a different logo in the top corner for a different company, and your bill is going to be less. If you still don't feel that you can change your energy provider, just speak to your current provider and see if you can change your tariff, because that might also save you money too. But yeah, switching, nobody needs to come in your house to switch. You can do all your own energy meter readings. It's a very simple. Please do it.
I think the only exceptions possibly could be if your broadband is cable and you're moving to non-cable, then you might not be able to do that right now because often an engineer will have to come into the house. And some energy tariffs will potentially require a smart meter, again, which need to be installed. So, but hopefully, if that is a case, if a smart meter is required, that's not going to be straight away. They're still going to want to get your business. They will delay that. So make sure you know what's going on. But they aren't going to come in your house anyway. They're not allowed to. So you don't have to worry about that. But as
and
you say,
people that are going into houses and making sure they're managing safe social distancing anyway. So if an engineer, if you have like a boiler problem and that breaks down, and you're going to get somebody in, they're going to do it safely, because if they don't want to spread it and you don't want to catch it, and they might not have it, and there's so many different potentials. So I think everyone who potentially would go in your house would do anything safely anyway.
Last thing, Eileen, actually, what's the number one takeaway you think for people who've watched this right now? They're struggling, they're not sure where the money's going to come from. What's the number one thing they should be doing?
Checking to see what they're eligible for in terms of grants, in terms of benefits, is one thing that they can be doing. And the other thing I think that everybody should be doing is doing a money makeover to see if they can cut down their expenses, because it's a great thing to do anyway. And like we've said there, it doesn't even involve switching suppliers. You can even phone up your suppliers and haggle with them and ask them for a better deal. So try and drive down the cost of everything that you possibly can, and look to see what you really need to spend money on and what you don't, because we don't know how long this is going to be going on. So to be able to, even if you have got a wee bit of extra money just now, then maybe popping some of that into a wee emergency fund, because we don't know what's going to happen. So having a wee emergency fund might be a good idea. But if you're absolutely struggling for money, then checking grants and checking to see what you are eligible for benefit-wise.
Lovely. Naomi, you can wrap this one up if you like.
Well, hopefully that has been useful. It's given some of you an idea of what you can do and where you can go to try and find some extra financial support if you've got less money. I mean, even if you don't have less money, you might find some of those ideas can help give you a boost anyway. So they're all there. They're all up for grabs. There's no reason that one person can have it and somebody else can't. So just get everything that you can potentially get, and don't struggle more than you have to.
Fantastic. Eileen, thank you so much. What's the best place to sort of check out you in the future? I know you sort of told us at the beginning a little bit, but where should we go to see you again?
Yeah, yourmoneysorted.co.uk. You can find me there, or you can find me on Facebook.
All right, so I clicked, I had a not quite right. I went to your screen share there and it wasn't quite right, but that's fine. Your page was briefly in there as well as something else. Brilliant. Okay, so Naomi and I will be back at 7 o'clock. I really love to get your questions again for all these things we're talking about. Remember, the best places for those are the Skint Dad page on Facebook and the UK Money Bloggers page on Facebook. So you can get them through to us either in between the sessions right now or afterwards. And say we'll be back at 7 o'clock talking about your job and your pay. So those schemes like furlough, self-employed support, what to do if you think redundancy is a threat. So yeah, have a cup of tea and we will be back in 25 minutes.
Thanks again, Eileen.
Thank you, Naomi. Thanks, Andy.
Cheers.